I am Billy Bobsack, and I am joined by Frederick Gumont
Hey there, how's it going?
and Tenkage,
Hey everyone.
and we're reviewing Rook's Exodus number 5 and number 6. Just doing this all at once. Tenkage, why don't you start us out first?
All right. So let me just start off by saying I think book 5 and 6 are the best two out of the six. That doesn't mean that I don't think there aren't some issues with it, though. So book 5, we see Rook recover after falling from the waterfall. Looks like he's having a bit of a dream here, a vivid dream where he's speaking to giant warthog. and So he's going through this whole conversation with this warthog named Pumbaa, I believe, and getting some Lion King vibes from this. But I did like that he sort of forced Rook to understand that, hey, you need to kind of stop being a bitch and do something right, and then maybe the birds will work with you. They'll start to listen to you. So that's essentially what issue 5 is. It's Rook coming to an understanding on how to speak to the animals that he allegedly went through training to control, and now suddenly knows how to control them. But I liked it because we're finally getting some traction with the character. We're finally getting to see him develop. I just think it happened a little bit too late. That's kind of how I feel about book 5.
What would you rate the book 5?
Yeah, so I rate book 5. It's kind of tough, but I give book 5, I give it a B. Because the art is just, consistently amazing. That's my thoughts on book 5. But book 6, I think, is better than book 5. This is, I got a lot of Batman vibes from this, and that's good and bad for me. I kind of didn't really want to, I could just go read a Batman comic, but it was nice to see Rook come out of the gates here. We've got a great splash page on the second and third pages. Get some great action. He goes after Ursaw. I liked this issue. It had a nice cliffhanger at the end, a nice hook for the next issue. I don't know if that's enough for me to keep reading or not, but we got to see a satisfying conclusion between the two characters, and I think that this is probably where I can almost bet that this is where the whole story came from. Like, they had the ending prepared before they wrote the rest of the story. That's sort of how it feels to me. But again, the art, incredible. There's some great moments. I thought the part where he's fighting Ursaw was pretty interesting, pretty fun. But yeah, I give that one an A.
All right. Frederick.
Yeah, so previously on our reviews of Rook Exodus, I was kind of disappointed with what the progression of the main character, how he was acting, in general. And a lot of it was kind of resting on this issue. The fact that he had fallen down the waterfall was kind of like super important. It was like kind of a death or life or death situation. It might change the character, might push him to fly or something. So a lot was kind of a hedging on this one. And I'm gonna be straight up with you. I found this one very disappointing. I thought the Pumbaa coming in as a sort of a spirit animal that's acting like a psychologist, and we're just going through his history in a dream state, and then you think something consequential and super interesting had just happened, and then you snap out of it because it was just a glitch in the helmet. So I think that takes out a lot of what this issue brings for me, and I would just tell anybody who's not really into it to skip this one. I don't think this one is going to affect the sixth one, and I found this one rather disappointing, which is going to be interesting when we get into the details of these two issues. How I would rate it, the art, obviously, as always, is top notch. Like, Jason has got amazing, beautiful artwork. The characters are rendered absolutely perfectly. The colors are spot on and fit very well from beginning to end. And even the paneling is kind of interesting enough. Like, there's enough variation to keep you interested It's not a repeat of issue 1 and 2 like we used to see. So art's like premium on top, but I'm a little disappointed with the writing. I mean, not just a little. I think I'm disappointed at this point. I think the story's kind of been going on a downhill. The main character doesn't even stand up to a woman when it's time to investigate a boat that they're about to risk their lives on. And I just find that he's like going in circles with this relationship with the birds, with the rooks. So yeah, I'd say thumbs down, maybe like a D in terms of writing. I'm just not reacting well to this one.
All right. Issue 6.
Issue 6 is like fantastic. Like I hadn't thought of that this was one of the best till you mentioned it, Tenkage. But it's beautiful. It gives us everything we've been looking for. A lot of characters, a lot of special effects, if we want to call it that, like beautiful art, action, fights, grappling hooks, outsmarting the enemy, and now the characters taking agency and taking reins and doing shit, if you will. He's actually taken on what's his name, Ursa, the main baddie, and he's smart enough to put the grappling hook on the vehicle, and we get double pages. He's starting to look cool. I think it's starting to pick up with issue 6, which is what I was expecting to happen like in issue 5. I think this one really picks it up, but I'm kind of a little bit out of the story a lot because of the way, it dragged on so long. I'm a little bit not as invested as I was in the beginning. But this one, yeah, clearly it's the best one. The visuals are super interesting. Yeah, they give us a nice hook at the end as well.
What's your rating on it?
This one, I don't want to agree with Tenkage with the A. I didn't feel it because I was kind of like out of the loop, but I think that's on me. That's my own bias. Because I think this is the best one so far. But maybe like A- because there's a few issues that have not been resolved so far. There's a lot of things that are just like talked about and not very much seen or developed, like the what do you call it, the Genesis engine, is that what it's called? Not the Genesis engine, but the engine that's taking care of like the geoengineering basically of the planet, the core,
The world engine.
Yeah, the world engine.
the world engine, thank you. So basically a lot of those things have not been explained yet, and there's a kind of twist that's happening with the big baddie Ursa. His character is developing more in this one. He's coming out of the 2D stereotypical villain into a character that we're starting to maybe root for a little bit. So that I think is like a high point in the writing. So definitely picks up with issue 6. So A- is my final verdict.
Okay. Mine on issue 5 is pretty much don't feel like, first of all, the issue was way too short. It's like 20 pages. I don't really feel like we got enough time to even have this shit going on, and it kind of just resolves itself towards the end. Like he's changed way too quick, and I just don't feel it deserved. I do think I did like the paneling in the issue 5. I'd like that when it was the trippy sequence or whatever he's in. The paneling's all fucking distorted and stuff. I'd pretty much just give that issue probably a fucking C-. Just don't think it was that great. Issue 6, on the other hand, the art was good. The paneling was actually pretty good. The fight scene, this is what I wanted from issue 4. The fight scene in this one is what I wanted. It was actually good, fun. It had enough time back and forth between Ursal and Rook. It actually made Rook not look like a pussy. I also give it points for actually setting up stuff for this series to continue, which we'll get into the spoilers of it, but issue 6 does do that, and it gives a reason for why the bad guy's the bad guy. But probably give issue 6 a plus. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think in isolation, it's really good for its pacing and everything. So I think we're gonna move on to our actual spoilers. And we're gonna start off with the good. Alrighty, now for the good. The stuff we liked in both of these issues. We're going to start off with the shortest segment on here. Frederick.
Yeah, short for number 5, because I was disappointed a lot in this issue, as I was saying earlier. But that's not to say that the art isn't perfect. Like, Jason pulls it off incredibly, like the Pumbaa character. I wonder why he has a ring in his nose, though. Isn't he a wild boar?
No, he's a domesticated boar.
He's been
now.
domesticated. Okay.
Remember, he's been with
he also seems to have gone to college in psychology.
Yes. Very intelligent boar. Swine was a professor before,
So
got these hogs.
That's kind of the big overarching kind of plot of this issue, is our main character talking with the boar about his inner turmoil and psychology and his relationship with the birds and his father and what caused him to leave Earth with the farm catching fire and all that thing. We seem to have an answer, and then it doesn't seem sure. It's like the main character is doubting the vision that he's got. So it's not all bad. There's a little bit of good elements throughout. I was just not buying the characterization of the boar in this one. I just felt that it was dissonant. And since most of the book is kind of a vision where he kind of wakes up, the thing that he's going through seems to have no weight at all. Just, snapping you out of a dream. It's like, okay, well, I could have skipped this one, is kind of what my conclusion was. Not to say that it's not beautiful, absolutely sensational visually. Like, Jason has a huge variety of panel layouts and, zooms, top viewpoints. It's very rich visually, as always. But,
When we get into the bads, I'll point out some other shit. But I do think that I'll give credit for the paneling. At least he was trying to do something interesting with the paneling, since it was a dream sequence for the vast majority of the issue.
100%. And whereas 6 is kind of the opposite. 6 comes back with a vengeance and gives you what you've been asking for. It's kind of the main hero comes in, acts like a hero. He's the one that, takes the initiative and has agency.
He even saves the damsel in distress.
Dude, it's like, now we're talking. Yeah. And you got awesome masks, great action, vehicles in combat, high-tech holographic display of all the masks. This should have been book 1. Like this, we're right in the action with everything we want in here. Every character could be a toy in this one. Every vehicle. In saying that you engage with everything and you just start to everything's beautiful, and I just lap it up in this one.
So I do got to give 2 goods for issue 6. That's why I have issue 6 actually very high. I think the highest rating I've given so far.
Yeah.
It actually gives us a reason why Urshaw's doing what he's doing, which is the corporations hired him and sent him there, and he was never originally a person there. The corporation sent him there 4 months from where the story takes place is how long he's been there. So that was a good explanation, because the original one was the planet's dying, so why does he fucking care?
Yeah,
just leave.
And that's I was gonna. Well, we're in the good right now, so I'll wait for the.
And then they actually give us an explanation, or give us a reasoning to why the fucking Carpus dude and Direwolf are even like trying to fight for this planet, in the sense that her father's not actually dead, and that he's the only one that can fix it. So at least there's an actual we have an objective in the series now.
Yeah,
that's an objective, an actual reason for a story.
That's the best part of the book. I think that's the best part at the end. I mean, maybe not the best, but it's the cherry on top, because it's giving you a real hook towards the end that makes you want to follow the story.
It was also the problem with the last 5 issues. I I feel like this should have been introduced earlier. Because the last 5, I mean,
Yeah.
why would Rook want to stay? Why are we listening to Direwolf and this fucking turtle berate the fuck out of him?
Yeah.
When all they're saying
Putting
is
up with
the
this.
world's
Yeah.
going to be destroyed, and I'm like, you know.
Yeah, issue 6 could have been issue 1 for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I actually give credits and props for the fight scene. It's not super long. However, it's definitely better than issue 4. Issue 4, I was so fucking disappointed. It was so quick and just boring.
Mhm.
And Rook was a pussy. And this one, he's actually taking the charge and fighting with Ursol and actually being smart. He even has the birds aren't even pussies. Unlike the issue 4 where all it took was the fake swine to shoot up a gun and the fucking birds
And-
fly away in this one. This one, they're like fucking jumping Ursol.
To
I'm
be
like, all right.
fair, the fight is like half the book. So it's
Yep.
if you want to have like the story move forward, you got to give the other half to the story, and it's
Right, but you got to. I'm not going to excuse this. You can have issues where it's mainly focused on the fight, and then have story continue after.
you see that more often in manga. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can dedicate having a very fun, very interesting fight scenes be the issue,
Mhm.
and then you have the fallout and all those stuff in the next ones.
Yeah. So
Why it didn't really excuse 4, because 4 was building it up, and
Yeah.
it kind of just like, you know.
Gosh, I would say the first 4 issues were built up, honestly. First 5
Yeah.
issues, you'd even say.
I love the cover of number 6. Like the cover is really cool. Rook
Yeah.
is fighting the big baddie Ursa, and you got the chick is at the bottom grabbing, reaching for the gun. That's really
Yeah, I have
nice.
a different cover. Mine is the one with a direwolf with her sniper, with her wolves behind her, and the bottom is her on her like bike, hover bike.
Right, they're doing a lot of different covers. Interesting.
That's the one I got. The one I purchased on issue 6.
Because it's, I think it's all about the printing, right? They change covers each printing, I believe.
Yes. Anyways, anything you would like to say, Tinkage?
Yeah. So book 5, I actually think has a pretty sweet cover. I like that scarecrow on there with all the birds kind of picking him apart. Everything's on fire. I don't know. It just kind of looks cool, I think. Yeah. So book 5, I think what worked for me in book 5 was I thought it was kind of funny. Maybe I just have a weird sense of humor, but I'm reading this, and it's almost like the warthog Pumbaa is speaking for all of us. He's like, Rook, why are you being such a bitch? Like, get it together. And that pretty much sums up book 5, to be honest. You have a bit of a flashback with him and his father, and that seemed kind of pointless to me. I did laugh a little bit when the warthog was saying, maybe it runs in the family. Like cowardice runs in the family.
Yeah. Maybe you're pussy, that. Maybe you just you can't even help it. You're that much
right. But I did like, it is a bit like a psychologist. I agree with Frederick on that. But maybe I found it to be more humorous. I don't think that was intended. So take with that what you will. But you look at the part where he thinks he has control of the birds and he goes to escape, and then there's the cliff, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna fly like I told everybody. So I thought that was kind of fun. But
Here's the thing: I knew it was a dream sequence. When we get into the bad, I will actually hit and criticize how they handled it.
Yeah. So
How did you know it was a dream, though, Billy Bob?
Oh, how did I know?
Yeah.
The fucking animals started talking, and then all the panels was like the panel.
I thought that was the helmet at
borders
first.
were all wavy and shit, and I'm like,
Yeah, I thought he had the helmet on or something at
and
first.
then I don't know. The moment he went out, he decided to jump off a cliff and be like, "I'm going to end it all," and I'm like, "Okay."
But everything,
And he turns into a raven. That's the other thing that was in that.
He does. It bursts out of the helmet, breaks the helmet in half, and it's the crow's head or whatever.
But either way,
Raven.
I knew it was that. Also, because if it wasn't a dream sequence, I would have actually been even worse on it. For the simple fact is, there was actually no build up that the animals can talk to their.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So from a writing perspective, for me, that was about the only good part about book 5 was it made me laugh. But like I said, I don't think that was intended. The art, though, it's just crazy, like how well Faye can draw the animals here and how they have emotion in their eyes, like you said before, Frederick. I noticed a lot of that in this issue. The paneling I thought was well done, and then I want to say a lot of the nature and the burning and the fire and the ash that probably gets looked over a lot, but I think it's really well done here, and it makes it just. The sequences were great. I didn't have a problem with the art or the sequences. It's all top notch.
I will say this: I do think the faces are actually way better than the previous issues in this one, specifically issue 5 and 6. When they do close-up shots of like one of them was with Direwolf and issue 6 with Urshaw. I think the lighting in it and the coloring and the drawing itself was all really well done.
But as you see the forest is burning down, you start to see the destruction and all the trees falling, and you've got all these different angles. And as you progress through, it gets worse. So I thought that was kind of cool, the attention to detail there. Let's talk about book 6. So book 6, I felt a lot different. So the art, of course, as we've said for all these books, just top notch. And then you go through, and I felt like a lot more action happened in this. But I also got we also got a lot more in regard to story. I thought that the one-liners were really good. So when Rook shows up, and they're like, "What? Rook can't fly," and then you just see the vehicle like go right over the cliff there, over the arc, and scares the hell out of him. Gets the
which, by the way, was actually a good double page spread. Not as good as the bear one from I think the first issue, but it was still.
I'll push back a little bit on this one because I would have liked to see an angle where we see the driver, because there's no characters that we see.
That's true.
It's the vehicles, and it's nice to see vehicles in action, but having just a change of angle where we could see them through the driver's window or something would have added.
Giving him the finger or something,
or just seeing him drive would have personalized it a little bit more, because these almost look like toys.
A little bit, like Hot Wheels or something. Yeah.
But I just want to mention as well, highlight the fact that this is his best art. It looks amazing from beginning to end, and it's hard to just look. I'm literally fawning over how awesome everything is. Like, the story is clear, the storytelling is dynamic, it flows, and the detail is phenomenal. Like, he's one of the best. I think he's still the best artist in mainstream comics right now.
I think so too. And the pacing in book 6 was excellent, because it's really easy to get. We were talking about how a whole book could be a fight scene, and that's fine. But when you're trying to mix action with dialogue and plot and all this other stuff, it could be hard to get caught up in that pacing. Everyone is guilty of that. And then the part here where the vehicle lands and then all the crows start attacking the bad guys here. I got huge Batman vibes from that, which is both a good and a bad thing. I can get into that later, but the good part of it was you get all the fun that you would get from Batman. He just seemed like a total badass in that scene. I mean, how he ejects from the vehicle, and you've got all the ravens flying around him. It just looked badass.
I'll also give credit to he actually improved the inner monologue. So it's not narrations, it's actually the character spot and using that.
Yeah, and then there's
more in it.
Right, and then like we said earlier, he saves Direwolf, which I found hilarious, because we're being lectured the first 4 books about how awesome she is, and ultimately she just gets she's Princess Peach. And the grappling hook scene was my favorite by far. That was the best one-liner build-up action moment for me. And then you get the whole sequence with Ursa and the bears, and I just thought it was awesome, man.
And that's another thing. Thing that we speculated actually turns out to be true, which is Ursa is genetically modified.
Yeah.
He is not a normal person. He is genetically modified. It also seems that the helmet is fused to his fucking face.
Which is weird, yeah.
Because he has no face.
Yeah, it is his face now.
So maybe his face was mauled off by bears or something?
Mauled, or I think maybe whatever genetically modified his face fused with it or something. It has to be something.
Yeah. So I guess what I would say overall, those are the good points for me. You can't have book 6 without book 5. I do think you could skip it, but I think that it wouldn't make a lot of sense going from 4 to 6.
Hold up. All you had to do... No, you could get rid of book 5. You know how you do it?
Put it at
One
the beginning of
page.
book 6.
One page, he gets out of the water and he says, "You know what? I'm tired of this motherfucking earth sauce on this
These snakes
motherfucking
off
planet."
my motherfucking plane.
That's all you had to do. Boom, right there.
You should
No,
write
He's
that.
finally tired of being called a little bitch, so he just
Yeah.
comes out the water.
So I'm about halfway with keeping it and getting, and what Frederick said, you could probably skip it. I do agree. You could probably put like 3 pages at the beginning of book 6, have him have that revelation. Maybe the dream sequence is a couple panels, and then he's like, "Oh man, I've been being a bitch this whole time. Let's go kick some ass." You know, like. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. The good parts.
Yeah, like I said, issue 6 I think is the best one we've had. I think it's a great mix of the fight scenes
Mm-hmm.
and story stuff, and it has hooks that I don't know. I'd actually give this a shot now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, that's how they create stories, is they usually think of the ending or the high points or the action scenes, you know, and then you have to try to build a story around it, and sometimes it doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Right.
But this could be like because the biggest problem with the story was the main character and how pussyfied he was. So if he's taken agency now and he has been changed from issue 6 on, I'm now curious to see what's going to happen with the
Yeah.
story.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
liked his pet raven.
Oh,
Granted, I
Oh?
will say the name was a little stupid. Or
Should have been Odin.
Edgar Allan
The,
Poe.
the issue with the names has been since issue 1.
I know,
like-
but it's Edgar Allan Poe. Or
He
how
takes-
he's calling the fucking.
It should have
raven.
been Odin, man, because Odin
Yeah.
gave up an eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he lost an eye, which was
Yeah.
a pretty cool scene.
And he had a crow. And dude, he seems like he takes the names, like the boar named Pumbaa, he takes it from the most popular
Yeah.
character in pop culture, like the easiest, closest thing you can grab, it seems.
It means no worries, Rook. Now go kick some ass.
Dude, there's gonna be a scene later on where like the birds merge, they like grab onto each other so you can have little bird raven wings to fly. That's how you're gonna get it, Tenkage.
When-
Like,
yeah, when we'll get into the bad.
alrighty. Got any last notes before we head into the bad?
Nah.
That's it for me, yeah.
Alrighty. Now on to the bad. I will start this out, and specifically issue 5. So we get this dream sequence, and he didn't go far enough. It's very, very kind of tame. Like, we don't get to see any like trippy shit or anything, which kind of is just boring.
Yeah, if you're gonna have the dream sequence, take advantage of it.
I think of in Berserk in the Golden Age when Guts kills the kid and then is escaping and he gets shot up by arrows and shit and he's in the sewers. And then you have the entire like his hallucination dream sequence of like Zod, Gambino and all the other stuff, and that's his character development, right? None of that happened in issue 5. It was just, oh, I'm talking to a fucking pig philosopher now. And the forest is just on fire, and that's it. And then we get like a flashback, a kind of flashback memory of the boar being like, oh yeah, your father definitely burned down the place. He's like, no, he didn't. He fought and he stayed there and fought to the end and got burnt alive for the animals. And I gotta be just like that. That's what we got in issue 5.
You did get the crow stringing him up like a scarecrow. That was the peak, I think, of the dream sequence. But I totally agree. That
Yeah,
they
but it
could've
didn't
gone
even
more.
make any sense.
Yeah,
Like, why were the crows doing that to him?
yeah. I didn't understand the connection there, but I don't know. Maybe I need to reread it. But that's not really my
Oh
job. It's
no,
their
I
job to
get it.
pull me
Never
in.
mind. I get it. They were calling him a scarecrow because he's a pussy.
Yeah.
I think that's the messaging.
I don't know. Aren't scarecrows supposed to scare other things away, though? I don't know.
I don't know.
See, that just seems like poor writing. See, it's still their fault in the
Yeah.
end.
I just know.
Sorry,
I'm
Jeff.
just going with they were calling him a pussy.
Yeah.
Like visually, sure, it's cool. Story wise, what? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even visually, it's a short. Well, it's not that short, but it's shorter than the previous ones.
It's 20
And
pages. It is only 20 pages, and I think most of every other issue's been
Yeah.
more or 30 something.
And my main gripe is it's just one continuous scene with the main character and the boar, and there's no other part of the story that's advancing in this book. So that's part of why I felt let down.
Nothing big happens. Like the fucking morph. The when he talks about swine, it doesn't like pull up like a representation of swine or what Rook would think swine was getting, how he's getting murdered or anything.
That would have been cool.
Visually, not that much there.
Right, why couldn't it have been swine at all? Like it could have just been swine. I mean, we know, Jason, you can draw warthogs.
Yeah, well, especially if you're in a dream sequence, like use the fact that it's a dream sequence.
Oh my God.
It just felt like real life, and then whoop! Oh no, you were dreaming.
You know what they could have done?
Yeah.
You know what they could have done? When he's talking about why is the fires and shit, the fire should have morphed into like Ursal or Ursal's face and shit in his helmet.
Yeah.
Something.
That would have been cinematic.
Yeah.
Because you're already going with
cinematic.
it being a dream sequence. Yeah. Kind of hallucination, not really. We don't really know.
You could have had a double page spread, and then you could realize that he's in a dream before he wakes up.
Right. Well, I mean, I figured out from the moment literally the pigs started talking to him, and I'm like, okay.
Well, I talk with pigs all the time, so yeah. I could.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
And I'm like, there's no hint in the story at all that they can talk to the animals.
Right.
But they do have the helmets, though, and the helmets always gave him a special connection.
Yeah, but it gave him a special connection, but it never said, it can turn your boar into a fucking therapist, you know?
Oh, yeah, especially not like psychologist, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, also the other tip away, of course, was, I don't know, Rook just throwing himself off a cliff.
Well, I didn't think that one was such an obvious clue, but I'll tell you why. Because the forest was on fire, and people have been known to jump off to their death when they're faced with their back to the fire.
Yes. Yep.
So he's just more of a pussy. I got you.
But did he fly? The question is, did he fly? And that's not clear. And I was disappointed.
Yeah, he did fly. He turned into a raven.
But it doesn't. It doesn't.
But he turned into a raven that couldn't fly.
It's implied.
He either turned into a raven, the raven grew and fucking like.
You're gonna give me implication in that tiny little scene after all of that, when you could have just had like a whole page, a whole splash of him flying, Yeah.
Yeah. There's no money shot in number 5.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like maybe the Boomba splash on page 2. That one's very cool. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
A lot of good drawings, but there's not the usual money shots we're used to, the double page spreads.
Yeah, but here's the other point. He finds the leader, and he's like, first of all, how does he not know the crows have a leader? He just found this out in this issue. But why didn't we have the crow actually talk to him, by the way? That would actually have been more impactful than fucking Pumbaa.
Yeah.
The crow being like, you're such a little bitch.
He could have resolved his issues with the crows, because he's obviously always hated them, and now he's stuck with them.
Yeah, it almost sounds like we're getting into this being a problem of execution. Not necessarily that the ideas were bad, but I don't know.
You're saying Rook should have been executed?
Yeah. No, the concept of the dream sequence was just a little too long, but maybe, like we said in the good, maybe they could have added like 3 pages to book 6 or 4 pages to book 6 that kind of summarize this and executed it in a better way. Maybe with Swine or the leader of the crows speaking to him or something like that. I don't know if we needed an entire issue of this.
I think it'd been fine if it was not here. I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I think it could have been an entire issue. It's just the issue we got was tame. Didn't go all out like it should have, since it's a dream sequence or hallucination.
I do agree with that.
And it should have been. Here's another problem. It doesn't really break down Rook's character to have him a revelation to change. I don't feel like issue 5 actually properly does that. Like the crow literally should have been calling him a pussy and calling him a little,
Well, that's what Pumbaa does. Pumbaa says, "Hey, cowardice must run in the family," and that's like the closest thing I could get to.
I know, but you should have had here's how you should have. You should have had his dad talking to him and being like, you ran from the earth and our home and our family. You just gave up. And you should have had the fucking crow calling him a pussy, and then you had Gyro calling him a pussy.
His dad should have slapped him around a little bit.
Yeah. Like, you should have had that.
And you're running
Imagine
away?
that.
Yeah.
You should have had Swine also show up and then have him be like, you know what? I think I'm a pussy. Let me change that. And then boom.
We're not friends anymore. Yeah.
Like, I do agree with you. I think it is execution and how it went. Because I think it would have been fine. It's just done better.
You know, and
it just seemed like issue 5 was...
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I would guess when you have a really great artist at your disposal, you're tempted to make things longer than they need to be. Just because you're like, oh man, it'd be great if we could draw this or do this. And I don't know, that didn't really seem to happen here.
But then again, I will stick with my thing is they could have cut this, put 3 pages, literally Rook just coming out, fuck you, motherfuckers! And then shooting up in the sky, you know? Should have been...
I would read that.
You know what? It actually would have got the same point across.
Yeah.
So he's done being a pussy and he wants to fight. Just saying, you know. Issue 6, I'm gonna be honest, unless y'all point something out, I don't really have that any issues with it. Funny enough.
I already pointed out the fact that the double page splash with the vehicles should have had like a little shot of the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's me nitpicking and finding the one thing.
I think that's the only thing. I think the only way you would have to change the angle where it's shot, how it's drawn.
Yes.
Like it'd have to be the car driving forward and then him flying off towards the camera, and then landing and drifting around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than that,
then you would have had a shot of him like in the fucking car doing that shot.
Other than that, it's so beautiful and so freaking gorgeous. A fight with the villain in the rain and thunderstorm, and our heroes, in a shootout with them. He's using all his tools, his weapons, and he saves the girl. Finally, I hope he gets slayed in issue number 7.
Yeah, and we also get a good the crow's actually fucking helping him now.
Yeah,
so running away. And I do like that Ursal did, beat the shit out of him some. Like, Ursal wasn't a pushover either in this fight.
Yeah.
And even when Ursal is just, like, looking at his computer representation, it's like a absolutely beautiful holographic world map straight out of Star Wars, right? All the
I will have one
icons
criticism with that, and it's actually a continuity problem. Rook's helmet was on the thing, but it should have also been Pumbaa and Rook's at the exact same spot. Because they were together.
Oh, good eye.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a continuity error on that one.
I do have minor gripes with a gripe or two with book 6, and they're really minor and more just my personal preference. But we go through book 5. Let's talk about book 5 really quick. So you have this whole dream sequence, didn't really deliver as well as we already discussed as well as it could have. I do think that book 6 is definitely awesome, and I don't really have any major issues with it. But one thing that I did not like, that I also liked, was that he sort of came off as Batman a little bit. I liked that, and I really hated that at the same time, because I'm like, what the hell? I could just read a Batman comic. I didn't need to go through 5 issues of this to get the same experience. You have the crows and the ravens being used sort of how Batman uses his bats, especially in year 1. And what was another issue I had here?
Hold up.
Mm-hmm.
You can either be Batman or you can be Rook, a pussy.
What I'm saying is, who is Rook when he's not a pussy?
Listen,
is he just Batman? Do you know what I mean? Is he just Batman with birds? And that's fine, I guess.
He's the guy that holds his girlfriend's purse while she's doing shopping.
Yeah, because Batman gets laid, man. So let's be honest here.
I swear to God, if we pick up the next issue and it's just
Ra's al Ghul,
berating him and calling him
Damian Wayne, anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, if it reverts, that's kind of a nail in the coffin, I think. But if he has actually evolved, like he seems to have in book 6, it can head in a very good direction.
There's another canon question I have here. Aren't all the wardens trained? What was he doing with these birds before this?
Yeah. that's another thing.
Well,
I
hold
find
up. This
it's
is a holdover from our issue in issue 1.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, what are you using a bear mask for?
Right, but I mean, at least they were competent. Rook seems to have problems throughout all these issues, and I'm just kind of wondering, well, what was he doing? What was he doing before this?
He seems ignorant of basic information still. His
Mm-hmm.
connection with the crows seems so childish and rudimentary that it doesn't make sense for someone
You
who's
just
been
gotta open
operating.
yourself up to people, Frederick.
You gotta learn to commune with the bird.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's all the Batman and none of the Bruce Wayne. We're getting all the Batman and none of the Bruce Wayne. What does he do when he's not Batman?
But they also should have had in the dreams. That's a good point. They also had a thing in the dream sequence I'm going to bring up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Have an explanation of why he chose fucking specifically scarecrows.
Yeah.
The raven birds, right?
Yeah, it's a good point, because there might be a purpose there, but it's not obvious, when you're reading it. So
They're supposed to be intelligent.
Yeah.
Express me intelligent.
But no, book 6, other than that, I completely agree with you guys. It's definitely, in my opinion, the best issue out of all of them. I think this is where the idea started. I love the grappling hook scene, but those were a couple gripes I had.
Very Batman as well.
Very Batman. And like I said, I'm fine with that, but we're not getting the rest of it for the character. Like, if he's just a caricature of Batman, that's not enough for me, is what I'm saying.
Are you saying he needs you saying a Direwolf's Catwoman?
Kind of does seem like that, doesn't it? She's a little sassy, though. I prefer Black Cat over Catwoman, personally. But anyway, yeah. So
not if you saw the Spider-Man 2 Black Cat.
Yeah.
God.
I wish we knew more about Direwolf's father. It's another little complaint I have, but that's supposed to hook you in, I think, to book 7.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point, is that she's hiding stuff from us, from Rook, about her dad. Do we reveal the spoilers or not?
We're in full spoiler.
We're in full spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Unleash.
The fact that Ursaw's revealing, hey, you got a secret there, like he's not really dead, and why are you pretending that he's dead? Well, you know that the situation is even far worse than death, which is super interesting. You're like, oh, wow, do we have another mutant on our hands? Do we have another person that's been corrupted by the mask or something?
That's a great point, Frederick.
What I do feel like they're going for, he lost his mind to the animal instinct shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what they're going with it.
Well, that would be a great way to do it, yeah.
And that's the thing. They're getting us to ask questions. So there's still a heartbeat there for this story. But, man, it is on life support. To use the metaphor.
Is there any other with issue 5 or issue 6 bring up before we go to the conclusion?
Any bad things?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just one tiny little thing if I've got to nitpick issue 5, but it's just it's so perfect, dude. It's like what's the number of the page? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this shit. When he's coming out, when Ursaw's got the girl, what's her name? The girl. Direwolf. Okay, so Ursaw's got Direwolf and as a prisoner, and he's looking at his computer terminal and all that. And then at the bottom of the page on the right, he gives out a punch towards something we don't know what it is. And you got the reveal of Rook with this hook all of a sudden. I thought that was kind of an awkward jank between the two pages. But
you mean issue 6?
Oh, 6. Yeah, sorry about that.
That also happened in issue 5, by the way, when the tree breaks with Pumbaa.
Yep.
It's just him looking over crack, and then we got it.
But that's me scraping the bottom of the barrel because it's so good. It's so good that I got to find these little things that don't work perfectly to point them out.
Right.
That's how good it is.
Alrighty. I think it's time for us to move on to our conclusion. Alright, on to our final thoughts. Frederick, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so it's kind of a whiplash reviewing 5 and 6 together, because 5 was a disappointment and 6 like brings you back and gives you everything you wanted. Like, just when you thought, oh my goodness, like it's been going downhill with his character, he doesn't have initiative, he doesn't have agency, the girlfriend's making all the decisions.
He has the power of tampons,
It feels like a modern day kind of a thing, but not quite full blown. But then 6 gives you everything you want. He turns into a hero. He saves the day. He saves the girl. He saves the damsel. You learn more about the bad guy. He becomes a 3-dimensional character. All the fights take place in the rain with lightning, bears with wet fur. It's freaking awesome, man. So I think we've been saying it off and on throughout since the beginning. Like, maybe 6 should have been number 1. 6 seems to start the story right in the action, makes you really appreciate the hero, where we were just going towards a downhill regression before that.
Right.
So that's kind of my overall view of 5 and 6. The art is fantastic as always, and 5 is forgettable. I mean, well, I don't know if forgettable is the right word, but it's just it doesn't seem to change the story much. We both agreed that you could resume it in 1 or 3 pages at the beginning of number 6, and it wouldn't change much. So that's quite what stands out here. 6 is phenomenal. It's great. It's giving us what we finally wanted. Even though it's not entirely, like, it doesn't fix all the problems with the story, but we're all on the same page in saying that, yeah, we're back into the story and we want to know how it develops from there. And I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, we went through it, but I have major problems with issue 5. I do think it could have been either scrapped. I also think they could have redone it and done it way, way better. Issue 6, I think, was the best one we've had out of all of them. Best drawn. Has really, really great action scenes. It has actual fun hooks to the story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess for me, let's see. So book 5, you could, if you care about the art, if you're a big Jason Fabok fan, read book 5. If you care about the story, I think Jeff Johns has better offerings, but you could read it. And if you're not interested in wasting your time, you could skip book 5. I did give it some thought, and I think Frederick's right on that one. Book 6, however, is definitely the best book out of all the releases that Rook Exodus has. It's got the best action, the most fun, and I just don't really think you have to read 5 books to get to this. So that's sort of my opinion on it. But the art is amazing throughout. The characters need some work. The story, it's okay. That's kind of how I feel about book 5 and 6. I just think book 6 is the peak potential of what this series could be, and still could be. Like we said before, this is kind of like, there's still a heartbeat here, but it's on life support for me, for this series. But we'll see where it goes. There's a good hook at the end of book 6. Maybe they're, getting their groove finally. Sometimes it does take a while for creative groups to find their groove and for a story to really pick up. But this one has had some trips and falls. So if it's a money issue, like I said, you could probably find something else. But if you really want to see what Ghost Machine is offering out there and you're a completionist, go for this series.
I don't think issue 7's out yet, right?
No, I think it's due in the fall.
Oh, it got delayed to the fall?
I don't think. They took a break from working on the series to work on the second one, because what they're doing right now is preparing 1 and 6 to become like a trade paperback graphic novel kind of.
Yeah, that comes out I think next month. So if those watching, if you're not familiar with Jeff Johns, he's also done Green Lantern, The Flash, Teen Titans,
Okay, but that actually
things
surprised
like
me.
that.
I thought they were taking like a 2 or 3 month break. I didn't know it was going to be, like because the issue 6 came out in November, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
If you're a single comics guy,
Or
you
October.
like single.
Sorry, October.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you like floppies, that's fine. But if you're just trying to read the story, maybe just wait for the trade. I don't know.
Yeah, it's cheaper. I think. Cheaper.
And that way you don't have to worry about actually paying money for book 5.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I gotta say the floppies are some of the best floppies
They
I've
are
ever seen
nice.
put together. Like the paper is exactly the right type of paper. The cardboard for the covers are perfectly, sturdy, but not too much. And they've got supplemental material, like you've got character files. Although they might
really
introduce those in the paperback as well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But you got a couple of good ads from other Ghost Machine stuff as well.
Oh yeah, and I love floppies. I collect floppies, hardcovers, trades. I do all of it. So
I'm gonna get this
really
question here. Tinkage.
Yeah.
Are you gonna continue?
If you guys do.
I'm just asking. Do you think you can continue? You think the story hooks at the end of 6?
I would be interested to see what happens in book 7. If they drop the ball there, I think I'm just gonna drop this one. This would not be my weekly poll.
Right.
If they drop book 7, yeah.
And the same question for you, Frederick.
Yeah, interesting question, because a couple of things come up. Because it's going in the right direction, but it hasn't been that way, like, for the most part. So I'm kind of expecting it to be like a false positive. Like I think it could go back to sucking potentially, but I'll give it a shot. I think issue 6 is. I think I want to revisit it. Probably do a reread of 6 and see how I feel after that. Because when I read them this morning, 5 and 6 together, I was just tainted by how disappointed I was with issue 5 when I was going through 6, and I didn't give a rat's ass, so to speak, after issue 6 when I was reading it this morning. It was when it was talking with you guys that kind of made me realize, like, yeah, this is actually a really good book, a really good issue, and I want to see what 7 is like. But I'm expecting to be perhaps disappointed, so I'm intrigued enough to check it out, but I'm not confident.
I'm gonna check it out. However, if Direwolf fucking talks down to him and he just takes it
After saving her, yeah,
I'm gonna be like, you know what?
we're done here.
I'm done, because I know because I think it's never gonna change.
Yeah.
If I had not bought issue 6 and we were just reviewing issue 5 and you asked me the same question, I would be saying I'm done.
Yeah, and let's be real, Direwolf, there's no character there. I don't really find her to be very interesting or anything like that. So you're having basically a non-character lecture your main character.
I mean, we talked about this in issue 4. I'm going to bring it up real quick again.
Yeah.
Issue 4. That there's no sexual tension between him and Direwolf. I hope that changes. That better be in the 7th next issues.
Yeah, it should.
All right. Yeah.
But back to the life support analogy. It's just one of those series where it's like, I hope they make it through, but if not, maybe it's time to pull that plug. I don't know.
So, anyways, we're gonna move on to Gotham High, Tenkage's favorite series.
No. What did I do to you to deserve this? Yeah.
This was a bait and switch all along, wasn't it?
I regret saying that I would review more comics now. Yeah.
I would be open to reviewing Geiger.
Yeah.
Which is another one of their books.
Can we talk about real quick how Rook's real name is Geiger? It's also Geiger.
Are you kidding?
I'm serious. At least I looked it up. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's his name. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll find out for you. That could be wrong. Could be misinformation.
I thought his name was Juan Solo.
Can't be putting out disinformation on the internet, Tenkage.
I know. What is this, right?
Wait, does it actually tell us his name in the bio?
There's no bio in issue 6, though.
Yeah, but there's one in issue 1.
Yeah, but it's not at arm's reach.
Yeah.
Oh, you're lazy.
Let me ask
Anyway.
why. It'll probably lie to me. Yeah.
It'll lie to me. I
don't know if his name's Geiger. I was just kind of messing around with you guys, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Anyways, I think this is our conclusion to these 2 issues. Next video will probably be a look through all 6 issues, talking about it.
Yeah.
In
But-
preparation of the upcoming trade paperback of it.
Yep.
That's right. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for Frederick Gumont
My pleasure, as always.
and Tinkage
Mess up. Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks, guys.
and Cuplaw, and I bid you adieu.